My name is Wanda Brennan, and I'm 29 years old. If you asked anyone in my family what I do for a living, they'd probably say I dabble in design. What they really mean is I didn't follow the family blueprint. While my siblings climbed the corporate ladder at Brennan Logistics Solutions, I built a small freelance studio from my apartment, helping small brands tell their stories online. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. And until recently, I thought I'd finally built something else that was mine too, Andrew Morrison. We met at a networking event 2 years ago. He was confident, sharp, and charming in a way that made people listen. When he laughed, it filled the whole room. When he looked at me, I felt like I finally existed outside my family's shadow. Andrew wasn't rich, but he was driven hungry to build something from the ground up, just like my father once had, or so I thought. He never asked much about my family, and I never volunteered. I wasn't hiding them, not exactly. But when your last name is Brennan, people assume things old money, privilege, nepotism. So I use my mother's maiden name professionally, Wanda Lane, cleaner, safer. The first time Andrew met my family, he was polite. Distant, but polite. After dinner, my mom asked if he could help clear the table. He smiled, said he was fine, and stayed seated, scrolling through his phone. Later, he told me she was testing him. My dad asked about his long-term goals, and Andrew rolled his eyes. He talks to everyone like they're in a job interview, he said afterward. And when my sister Megan offered to take me on a girls' day spa trip, Andrew scoffed, saying fake bonding. She's just trying to size me up. At first, I laughed it off, but as months passed, Andrew's comments sharpened. "They're so cold," he said one night. "Your mom barely smiles. Your dad's intimidating. Your brother, what's his name, Thomas?" He looks at me like I'm a stray dog. "They're just reserved," I replied softly. "They take time to open up." Reserved. That's your nice word for snobbish. The way he said snobbish made me flinch. That conversation became a seed, a quiet, poisonous one that would grow roots deeper than I could control. It came to a head 3 weeks later. We were supposed to go to my nephew's birthday party, just an afternoon in the park. Nothing dramatic. I was icing cupcakes when Andrew slammed his coffee mug down. "I'm not going," he said flatly. I looked up, startled. "What? Why not?" "I'm done pretending your family isn't toxic, Wanda." The word hit like a slap. Toxic, I repeated. Yes. They're judgmental, condescending, always making you feel small. Every time we're with them, you shrink. "That's not fair," I said, my voice trembling. "They've been nothing but kind." Kind. Your mom interrogates me about my job. Your dad's tone drips with arrogance. And your siblings, God, they don't even bother to hide their disdain. I stared at him, stunned. "They're my family, Andrew. You're misunderstanding them." He stood, hands on his hips. "No, you're defending them over me." "I'm not defending anyone," I said, trying to steady my breath. "I'm just saying they're not toxic. They're just careful about who they let close." He laughed bitterly. "Careful, try elitist. They think they're better than everyone, probably because of that family company they all worship." I froze. He didn't even realize he worked for them now. "Andrew, please," I whispered. "Don't say things like that. I'm serious, Wanda. I can't do this anymore. You have to choose either them or me." For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. I saw my mom's gentle eyes, my dad's quiet pride, the way my brother teased me, the smell of our Sunday dinners all flash before me. And then I saw Andrew, the man I'd built my future around, staring at me with the certainty of someone who believed love should come with conditions. "You're asking me to choose between you and the people who raised me," I said slowly. "I'm asking you to choose your future," he said. Us. Our life away from their poison. I wanted to scream that my family wasn't poison, that they had their flaws. Yes, stubborn, proud, protective, but toxic, no. But I also remembered how they sometimes made me feel like the artsy disappointment, the one who didn't fit their mold. Maybe Andrew was right. Maybe I did shrink around them. So I looked into his hopeful eyes and said quietly, "I choose you." He exhaled in relief, pulled me into his arms. "I promise," he whispered, "you won't regret it." But even as I hugged him back, something inside me cracked. I knew I would regret it. Because love that demands you erase a part of yourself, especially the part called family, isn't love. It's control wearing a kind face. That night I texted my mom, "I'm sorry, I need space. Please don't call." She replied a single line. Space isn't distance, Wanda. It's silence between two hearts that still beat for each other. I cried until I couldn't breathe. The next morning, Andrew made pancakes, humming like nothing had happened. He wrapped his arms around me, kissed my cheek, and said, "See, it's just us now. We'll build our own family." I smiled, pretending to believe him, but my hands trembled as I held the fork, because I knew no matter how many pancakes he made, no matter how tightly he hugged me, something sacred had already been severed. And love, once it demands a sacrifice, that deep never tastes the same again. For 1 week, I tried to convince myself I'd made the right decision. Andrew was radiant, like a man who'd finally won a long battle. He cooked breakfast every morning, talked about moving to a bigger apartment, and filled every silence with plans for our future. I told myself this was what peace looked like. No family expectations, no judgment, just love. But peace felt suspiciously like loneliness. The nights were the worst. I'd lie awake listening to the hum of the city outside our window, wondering what my family was doing. Was Dad still reading the business section out loud over breakfast? Was Mom still reminding everyone to pass the salt before they spoke? Were they talking about me? I muted our family group chat the night I left. The unread messages kept piling up: my sister's memes, my brother's sarcastic remarks, Mom's quiet, "Good night, everyone." Each notification felt like a knock I couldn't answer, and yet I couldn't bring myself to delete them. A week later, Andrew came home glowing. He tossed his bag on the counter, still in his new Navy suit. "Guess who met the CEO today?" he said, beaming. I forced a smile. "Who me are, Brennan himself. The guy's a legend." He stopped by my department, read my quarterly report, and said, and I quote, "Exceptional analytical thinking." He waited for me to react. I stared, heart pounding. R. Brennan. My father. "That's amazing," I said carefully. "I'm proud of you. I mean, come on, Wanda. 6 months in, and I'm already on the radar of the big guy. My supervisor says there's an opening in junior management soon. If I play my cards right, I could be there by next quarter." I nodded, biting the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood. He didn't know. Of course he didn't. "Seems like a great place to grow," I murmured. "Exactly. You can tell it's a merit-based culture. No nepotism garbage. Everyone earns their way up." His words hit like shards of glass. That night while he slept, I texted my mom. "He doesn't know he's working for us. Please don't tell him." She replied 2 minutes later. "We'd never embarrass him, sweetheart. But the truth always surfaces one way or another." The next morning, I couldn't look Andrew in the eye. He kissed me on the forehead before leaving for work, humming the company jingle under his breath. I stood in the doorway watching him disappear down the hall, my chest tight with dread. When the elevator doors closed behind him, I whispered to the empty apartment, "Dad, what have I done?" That evening, Andrew came home buzzing with stories about his coworkers. "There's going to be a company barbecue next week, annual thing at Riverside Park. Everyone goes. Even the executives show up. Play games, grill food." Apparently, the CEO himself flips burgers. Can you imagine the CEO doing that? I could imagine. I'd watched my father do it every year since I was a kid. He'd flip burgers until his white polo shirt was speckled with grease and then laugh when Mom scolded him for smelling like work on your day off. "Sounds fun," I said softly. "You should come. Meet my colleagues. Show them I have an actual girlfriend and not some imaginary muse I made up." He laughed, then looked at me. "Actually, maybe it's better if you don't. The last thing I need is you feeling awkward." The words stung more than they should have. "I wouldn't be awkward," I said quietly. He didn't notice my tone. "Good, because I really want to focus on networking. Big names will be there." Later that night, I sat on the balcony staring at the skyline. I could almost see my family's building from there, the tall glass tower with Brennan Logistics Solutions glinting across the top. I thought about my dad, about how hard he'd worked to build it from nothing. About Mom, who started in accounting before becoming CFO. About Thomas and Megan, who each took their place in the hierarchy, loyal, but occasionally suffocated by expectation. And then there was me, the daughter who didn't join, didn't care for meetings or mergers, the one who painted, designed, and kept her distance. But now the man I loved was inside that world, unwittingly climbing the empire my family built. 3 days before this barbecue, I couldn't take it anymore. I told Andrew I'd accepted a big freelance project with a startup client and needed to work late nights for a week. He smiled and kissed my forehead. "Good for you, baby. Keep hustling." The next morning, I packed a small suitcase, told him I'd stay with a friend to avoid disturbing his sleep schedule, and drove back to the only place I could breathe. Home. When I walked through the front door, my mom froze mid-step. "Wanda?" I nodded, tears already blurring my vision. She didn't ask questions. She just wrapped her arms around me. "Dinner's still warm." My dad appeared behind her, wiping his hands on a towel. Welcome home, kiddo. No lectures. No I told you so's. Just quiet understanding. Even my brother Thomas, who normally teased me about everything, simply grinned and said, About time you came to your senses. Megan whispered, You don't have to explain, just rest. That night, for the first time in months, I slept without clenching my jaw. Over breakfast the next morning, Dad was reading the paper. You know we're having that company barbecue this weekend, he said casually, not looking up. You should stop by. The new hires seem promising. I nearly choked on my coffee. New hires, your friend might be there. I stared at him. You knew. He smiled faintly. I treat every employee based on merit. And his reports really were good. I exhaled shakily. Please don't embarrass him. Embarrassed Dad chuckled. Wanda, no one embarrasses anyone at a barbecue. But life has a funny way of grilling its own lessons. Mom reached across the table, touching my hand. Sometimes the truth doesn't need to be told, it just needs to arrive. Her words lingered in my chest like a quiet storm, because deep down, I already knew what was coming. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to watch the truth arrive. Riverside Park shimmered under the late summer sun, the air thick with the smell of grilled food and cut grass. Laughter drifted from every corner, children chasing Bubbles executives in polo shirts, flipping burgers, and employees balancing paper plates piled high with food. Andrew looked like he belonged there. Confident, smiling sleeves rolled to the elbow. Come on, he said, taking my hand as we walked through the crowd. I want you to meet everyone. This place, it feels like family. The irony burned the back of my throat. I hadn't planned to come, but Dad's calm voice echoed in my head. Sometimes the truth just needs to arrive. I needed to see it happen. I needed to face it. I'd arrived a few minutes before Andrew, wearing a simple blouse and jeans, blending in like any other guest. My family scattered across the park, Mom at the salad station, Dad manning the grill, Megan running HR games for the kids, and Thomas setting up a relay race. They looked like any ordinary group of coworkers, not the dynasty Andrew imagined in his head. When he spotted me, his eyes lit up. You came? I smiled weakly. I did. He laced his fingers through mine and guided me through clusters of employees. This way, my supervisor's dying to meet you. I've been bragging about how amazing you are. Bragging, I asked, forcing a laugh. Of course, you're my good luck charm. Ever since we got engaged, everything's been going right. I froze mid-step. Engaged. He still thought we were engaged. I hadn't worn the ring since the night he made me choose. But I hadn't returned it either. It sat hidden in my drawer at home, heavy with meaning I couldn't face. We stopped near the main pavilion. The executive's tent, white canvas, silver trays, laughter. Andrew pointed excitedly. There's the CEO I told you he was down to earth. He's literally flipping burgers. He waved toward my father. I whispered, Andrew, wait. Too late. Dad turned at the sound of his voice, spatula in hand. For a brief second, their eyes met, and recognition dawned in both. Good to see you again, son, Dad said evenly. Enjoying the event. Andrew blinked. Mr. Brennan. Robert, Dad corrected gently. But most people here just call me Mr. B. Andrew laughed nervously. Right. Sure. He turned to me, his smile fading. Wanda, you know him. Before I could answer, Mom approached with her ever-calm grace, holding a bowl of potato salad. Sweetheart, you made it, she said, touching my arm. You remember Andrew, of course. He stared at her name tag, Linda Brennan, CFO. His mouth opened and closed like he couldn't find air. I wait your... Yes, Mom said gently. I'm Wanda's mother. Then Megan's voice cut through the noise. Hey, Andrew. Nice seeing you outside of HR emails. He spun around. You're head of human resources, she finished, her tone light, almost teasing. And your fiancé's sister. Thomas appeared next, wiping sweat off his forehead, grinning. Heard your reports have been solid. Keep it up, man. It was chaos, gentle, polite, perfectly normal, Brennan chaos. But to Andrew, it was the unraveling of everything he believed. He turned to me, pale as ash. They're your family. I nodded, my throat tight. The Brennans. The company. The CEO. You. Yes. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then his laugh came out sharp, brittle. No, this is insane. You let me work here. You watched me talk about this company like it was some kind of holy grail. I never meant to hide it to hurt you, I said softly. I just wanted you to see them as people, not power. He shook his head. You lied. I didn't lie. You never asked. His voice rose. You let me humiliate myself, I said. Your family was toxic to their faces. Nearby employees began to glance our way. My mother subtly guided me aside. Wanda, she murmured, let him cool down. But Andrew wasn't cooling. He was boiling. He took a step closer. You could have told me before I took the job. Before everyone knew me as the guy dating the boss's daughter. No one knew, I said. I made sure of it. That's worse. You set me up to look like an idiot. My dad's voice came quietly from behind him. Andrew, no one set you up. You've done well here. You earned your place. Don't patronize me, Andrew snapped. You probably think I'm some charity case you're indulging. A tense silence fell. The sound of children playing in the distance only made it louder. Then Megan broke it with her usual dry humor. Well, this escalated quickly. Mom gave her a look, and Megan sighed, muttering something about getting more lemonade. I touched Andrew's arm, but he flinched. Andrew, please, let's talk somewhere private. He glared at me. Yeah, let's. Because clearly I've been the punchline of your family's inside joke. We walked toward the parking lot, his pace furious. I followed in silence, my heels sinking into the grass. When we reached his car, he spun around. You knew this whole time, didn't you? Yes. And you never thought to tell me. I didn't think it mattered. He laughed harshly. Didn't matter. I've been pouring my soul into that company, praising your dad like he's some kind of legend. You let me make a fool of myself. I let you believe in something good, I said quietly. You loved the company when you thought it was built on merit. You only hate it now because you realized who built it. His eyes burned. You think you're better than me. I never said that. You didn't have to. Your family doesn't have to. It's written all over their perfect, polite smiles. I swallowed. They respected you, Andrew, even when you didn't respect them. Don't twist this, he snapped. You lied to me, Wanda. I protected you, I whispered. From your own pride. He went silent, then breathing hard. For a second, I thought he might cry. Instead, he whispered, You ruined everything. No, I said. You did that when you asked me to choose. I slipped the engagement ring from my pocket, the one I'd carried for weeks, unsure why. His eyes widened. Don't, he said. I have to. I pressed it into his hand. We were engaged. Past tense. He stood there frozen, the sunlight glinting off the ring between his trembling fingers. Wanda, he said, voice breaking, you can't just... But I was already walking away. Back toward the laughter. Back toward the smell of grilled food and my father's quiet hum. Back toward the people I'd once abandoned. Mom looked up as I approached. Her eyes asked the question she didn't need to say. I shook my head. She nodded, once turned back to her serving tray, and whispered to no one in particular. Sometimes love teaches the hardest lessons at the softest tables. The drive home was silent, except for the sound of the ring clinking against the dashboard. Andrew hadn't spoken since we left the park. His jaw was locked tight, and his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. When we reached our apartment, he didn't even look at me. He got out, slammed the car door, and went straight inside. The sound echoed like a gunshot. I followed slowly, my heart heavy. Andrew, I said softly, closing the door behind me. He stood in the living room, staring at the engagement ring in his palm. You humiliated me, he said without turning around. I didn't. He spun on me. You did. You let me stand there like an idiot talking to your family, your CEO, your father, without a clue. Everyone must have been laughing at me. No one laughed, I said. They were kind, even after everything you said about them. His eyes flashed. Oh, don't you dare make them saints. I'm not, I said quietly. But you made them villains. He scoffed. I called them toxic because that's how they act, judging people from the moment they walk in. You judged them first, I said. You never tried to see who they really were. He threw the ring across the room. It landed on the floor with a sharp ping and rolled under the couch. I'm done talking, he said. You lied to me. You played me. I didn't play you, I whispered. I loved you. For a brief second, his expression softened, but then pride took over again. You think this is love? This power game? I was finally making something of myself, Wanda. Finally being respected. And now everyone's going to think I got the job because I was sleeping with the boss's daughter. I swallowed hard. If that's all it takes to erase your hard work, maybe it wasn't as solid as you thought. His voice cracked. You think you're so perfect, don't you? No. I just don't think love should turn into shame. For days, the apartment became a silent war zone. He barely spoke to me. When he did, it was clipped cold. Every beep of his phone made me flinch, wondering if he was texting my dad, my brother, trying to repair his pride through business. Then one night, he came home late, smelling of whiskey and bitterness. "I'm staying at a coworker's place for a while," he said. "Why?" "Because I need space. I can't even look at you without remembering how stupid I looked." He grabbed a duffel bag and slammed the door behind him. I didn't chase him this time. Instead, I sat alone on the couch, staring at the faint shimmer of the ring under the furniture. For a moment, I thought about picking it up, but then I let it stay where it was. Some things are meant to be lost. A week passed. Andrew didn't call. But word travels fast in family companies. Thomas stopped by my apartment one afternoon holding a folder. "Hey, little sis," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "You okay, Define?" "Okay." He smiled sadly. "Thought so." He handed me the folder. "You might want to read this before it becomes gossip." Inside were printed emails, HR notes, disciplinary records. Andrew had started acting out at work. He'd emailed Thomas directly trying to pitch innovative strategies for logistics, quoting from online consultancy reports word for word. When Thomas confronted him, he got defensive. Then he emailed my mom a long apology mixed with flattery and a not-so-subtle hint that he'd be a great cultural bridge between management and staff. Mom's reply had been 3 sentences long. "Personal relationships should remain separate from professional matters. Focus on your work. Wishing you clarity and peace." Thomas raised an eyebrow. Dad wanted to ignore it. "Megan's already preparing HR documentation in case he pushes harder." "He's not malicious," I said softly. "He's just lost." "Yeah," Thomas said. "But lost people sometimes burn forests when all they needed was a match." He left the folder on my table and kissed my forehead before he went. I waited until he was gone before I started crying. The next morning, I woke to a text from Megan. "Heads up. Andrew scheduled a meeting with HR and the executive team. He's addressing company bias." I sat up straight. "What kind of bias?" I replied. Her response came instantly. "Apparently, familial favoritism and emotional discrimination. Brace yourself." My stomach dropped. I didn't know whether to be furious or heartbroken. Later that day, Dad called me into his office. He didn't lecture. He didn't even look angry. Just disappointed in that quiet way that always made me feel 12 again. "I had a conversation with Andrew today," he said. I swallowed. "What happened?" "He accused the family of orchestrating a hostile environment, claimed he's being punished for dating you." I covered my face with my hands. "Dad, I'm so sorry," he sighed. "Wanda, you don't need to apologize for loving someone, but you can't control who that someone becomes when pride gets hurt." He leaned back, his voice calm. "Do you know what he did after our talk?" I shook my head. "He sent an email to Megan suggesting that if he doesn't get promoted soon, he might share personal insights about the family's dynamics with other employees." I looked up sharply. "He threatened you?" "Attempted to," Dad said. "Megan already documented it." The air between us felt heavy. I whispered, "What will you do?" "Nothing yet," he said. "We don't react to noise. We wait for clarity." He paused. "But Wanda, if he comes to you again, don't meet him alone." That night, Andrew texted me, "We need to talk just once, please." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "Where?" "Your usual coffee spot, tomorrow morning." The cafe was quiet when I arrived. The smell of roasted beans mingled with the faint sadness of something inevitable. Andrew was already there, sitting in our old corner booth. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his hair unkempt. He gave a small, brittle smile. "Thanks for coming." I sat down. "What do you want to say?" He rubbed his temples. "I messed up." "Okay, but I was scared. I thought your family was trying to destroy me." "They weren't," I said quietly. "You were destroying yourself." He looked up, eyes glassy. "Can't you tell them I'm sorry? Get them to drop all this. I need my job, Wanda." "I can't," I said. "They've already been more patient than anyone else would have been." He leaned forward, desperate. "Please, Wanda, you still love me, right?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to say something kind, but all that came out was truth. "I did love you," I whispered, "but not this version of you." For a moment, his face crumbled. Then he nodded like he understood. When I stood to leave, he said quietly, "You win." I turned back. There was never a competition. He gave a hollow laugh. There always is when you're a Brennan. As I walked out, I realized he was wrong. It wasn't about winning. It was about surviving the wreckage of someone else's pride and finally choosing peace over pity. And for the first time since he made me choose, I felt like I had chosen right. A week after that final coffee meeting, the story I had tried so hard to keep private became the talk of the entire company. It started with whispers, then rumors. And by Monday morning, my brother Thomas called me with the words I had been dreading. He's gone public internally, at least. Meeting with his whole department this morning. Claimed we're a toxic family running a nepotistic empire. I sat up in bed, heart pounding. You're kidding. I wish I was, Thomas said grimly. He's spinning this as if he's the victim of some corporate power play. Megan shut it down before it got too far, but HR has to investigate formally now. I pressed my palm against my forehead. He's burning every bridge he has left. Thomas sighed. He's not burning them. Wanda, he's trying to light a signal fire. Problem is, the only person who will see the smoke is himself. By noon, the emails started flying. Andrew had filed a formal complaint with HR citing hostile treatment from management, emotional distress, and power abuse. His statements were long, messy, full of contradictions. He claimed that my family had conspired to humiliate him at the barbecue, and that he'd been discriminated against since I broke up with him. Megan called me that evening half laughing, half furious. Wanda, he filed a complaint with me, about the Brennans being toxic. I groaned. Tell me you recused yourself. Of course. I handed it to my deputy. But still, the audacity, he literally wrote, I feel unsafe engaging with this family-dominated corporate culture. Unsafe. This man eats muffins with my dad on Mondays. Her laughter died down. Don't feel guilty. He's unraveling. HR will handle it. But Andrew didn't stop there. When professionalism failed, desperation took over. He started showing up at our house. The first time it was late Monday night. I was in the living room with Mom folding laundry when the doorbell rang. Mom opened it and there he was, disheveled eyes red, clutching a bouquet of wilted flowers. Mrs. Brennan, he began, voice trembling. Please, I just need to talk to Wanda. Mom's expression didn't waver. Andrew. It's 10 p.m. I love her, he said quickly. I made mistakes, but I love her. You called me cold and judgmental, remember, she said evenly. And you called our family toxic. You can't love someone while despising where she comes from. He looked past her toward me. Wanda, please. Just 5 minutes. Mom turned to me, waiting. I shook my head. No, Mom. Mom stepped forward, voice calm but firm. Andrew, you need to leave. It's late. He hesitated. I didn't know who you were then. I didn't know. That Mom said softly as the tragedy of your love. You only started to care once you knew what we had. She closed the door gently, leaving him on the porch. I sat there, shaking my heart, breaking and hardening all at once. The next day, he waited for Thomas in the parking lot after work. Tom, please, he pleaded, following him to his car. You're his brother, you get it. Help me fix this. Thomas didn't even stop walking. Fix what? The way you insulted my mom. The way you lied to my sister. I was scared. Okay, I felt judged. Thomas turned to him, eyes cold. We all get judged. Difference is, most of us don't burn everything down afterward. He got in his car and drove off, leaving Andrew standing alone in the fading light. By Wednesday, he'd moved on to me. I saw him through the cafe window standing outside in the drizzle, waiting. The same one where we'd first met. When I stepped outside, he looked desperate. Please, he said, voice shaking. I can't lose everything. I'll quit. I'll start over. Just help me clean my record. Andrew, stop, I said gently. You don't owe me that, and I can't fix this for you. Why not? You could ask your family. You could make this go away. It's not about me anymore, I said. It's about your choices. He looked like he wanted to scream but couldn't find the words. Then he tried one last tactic, the one that used to work. He reached for my hand. I love you, Wanda. Please, I'll do anything. I pulled my hand away. Then start by letting me go. He stared at me for a long moment before whispering, You'll regret this. That night, Megan texted me. He's filed another HR complaint, this time claiming emotional retaliation. And another message seconds later. Don't worry, it's being dismissed. But he's clearly spiraling. Friday morning, I got the final call from Dad. Come by the office, he said. We need to talk. When I arrived, he was sitting behind his desk, unreadable as ever. Megan was there too, flipping through a file. Dad nodded toward her. Tell her. Megan sighed. He staged a department meeting this morning. Told everyone he's being punished for standing up to the Brennan dynasty. It caused chaos. His supervisor called security when he refused to stop talking. My heart sank. Oh no. HR had to escort him out, she continued. He's on administrative leave pending review. It's effectively over. Dad interlaced his fingers and said quietly, "He's threatening to go to the press. Local outlets, social media. Says he'll expose us as a corrupt family business." "Can he?" I asked. "Legally, no. But headlines don't need truth to cause damage." Silence filled the room. Then I said, "I'll handle it." Dad's eyebrows rose. How I'll talk to him one last time. That evening I texted Andrew, "Meet me, tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the Starbucks downtown." He replied immediately. "You'll help me. We'll talk," I answered. He arrived before I did. His hair was greasy eyes, hollow clothes, wrinkled. He looked smaller somehow, like the arrogance had burned out of him, leaving only ash. "You came," he said softly. "I did," I replied, "because I want this to end peacefully." He nodded, almost childlike. "Then help me. Tell them to stop. Tell them I'll keep quiet if they drop everything." "I can't make deals for the company," I said, "but I brought something else." I slid an envelope across the table. He opened it slowly. Inside was a resignation letter, a final paycheck, and a confidentiality agreement. "What is this?" he asked, voice trembling. 2 weeks severance. If you sign, you walk away clean. No lawsuit, no headlines, no scars on your record. His face darkened. "That's blackmail." "No," I said quietly. "That's mercy." He stared at the papers, then at me. "So this is how it ends. You have a choice, Andrew. You can end it quietly or destroy what's left of your reputation." He didn't move for a long time. Then finally, with shaking hands, he picked up the pen. "I really did love you," he whispered, as he signed. "I know," I said. "That's what makes it hurt." He slid the papers back to me, his eyes red. As he stood to leave, he looked over his shoulder. "For what it's worth, I thought your family was toxic because I couldn't stand that they were better than me." When he walked out, I exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. Outside, the morning light was breaking through the gray clouds. The truth had finally arrived. It's been 2 months since that morning in the cafe. Andrew took the severance and the NDA. He moved to another city somewhere small, working an entry-level job at a shipping firm. I only know because Megan saw it on LinkedIn. "He's fine," she said over dinner one night. "Quiet. Different." I nodded, unsure whether to feel relief or grief. Maybe both. Sometimes I still catch myself thinking about him not with anger, but with that soft ache reserved for people who taught you painful lessons. He wasn't all bad. He was just small in the face of his own pride. And for a while I mistook his hunger for ambition and his possessiveness for love. But I've learned that love isn't measured by how loudly someone demands you choose them. It's measured by how gently they help you belong. Sunday dinner at home feels different now. Not because my family changed, but because I did. Dad still reads the financial section aloud, even though no one listens. Mom still asks whoever's nearest to help with dishes before dessert. Thomas still calls me the family rebel whenever I forget to show up on time. And Megan still plans her mandatory spa days that I somehow never attend. But the air feels lighter. The silence between us isn't distance anymore, it's comfort. That first Sunday back, I sat at the table watching them all laugh over something dumb Thomas said, and I realized how close I'd come to losing this forever. The very thing Andrew called toxic was the thing I'd been running from all along: unconditional belonging. Because being part of this family was never about the company or success or legacy. It was about weathering each other's rough edges without running away. One evening, as I helped Mom dry the dishes, she looked at me over her shoulder. "You don't have to feel guilty anymore, Wanda," she said softly. I blinked. For what? For loving someone who wasn't ready to love you back properly. That's not a crime. It's just life. I swallowed hard. "I hurt all of you." She smiled. "And yet here you are helping me with dishes. Seems like you learned." From the living room, Dad's voice floated in. "Wanda, you done with your mother's kitchen cult yet? I need help in the garage." Mom rolled her eyes. The toxic patriarch needs his assistant. We both laughed. Down in the garage, Dad was crouched beside his classic car tools scattered everywhere. The smell of engine oil mingled with nostalgia. "Pass me that wrench," he said without looking up. I handed it over. "Remember when you used to sit here as a kid handing me the wrong tools every time I smiled?" "Yeah." You'd sigh and say, "One day you'll learn precision." He chuckled. "Guess you did. Just took a heartbreak to fine-tune it." He tightened a bolt, then paused. You know, Wanda, I didn't like Andrew at first. I gave a small laugh. You didn't like anyone I dated? That's fair, he admitted. But I didn't dislike him either. I just saw something in his eyes, someone who wanted to win, not belong. Big difference. I leaned against the car. I think I wanted to win too, to prove I could love differently, that I wasn't just another Brennan. Dad wiped his hands and looked at me. And now I just want peace, I said simply. He smiled. That's how you know you're finally part of the family. The Brennans chase storms until they learn peace is what they were building all along. Later that night, I sat on the back porch watching the city lights flicker through the trees. Somewhere out there, Andrew was rebuilding his life, maybe telling his version of the story. Maybe in his version, I was the villain, the cold, privileged woman who never gave him a fair chance. And maybe that's okay. Because I've learned that truth doesn't need defending, it just needs living. If someone truly loves you, they won't demand that you erase the people who shaped you. They'll want to meet them to understand why you are the way you are. And if your family really is toxic, the person who loves you won't make you choose. They'll help you heal, not isolate. Andrew demanded a choice. He got one, just not the one he wanted. As I turned to head inside, I heard Dad call from the garage again. Wanda, the toxic patriarch still needs that wrench. I laughed, wiping my eyes. Coming. The metal clinked. The laughter rose. The light from the kitchen spilled warm and gold across the floor. And for the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Not because everything was perfect, but because I finally understood what love was supposed to look like. It wasn't silence. It wasn't control. It was this noise, flaws, forgiveness,